The Mississippi River, this is also incredible, has hit historic low levels due to the current drought the country is facing. The unusually low water levels of the river have caused barges to get stuck in mud and sand. It's also triggered waterway restrictions from the Coast Guard.
200 billion gallons of water are disappearing every single day, and nobody can explain where it's going. On October 17, 2024, NASA's Terra satellite captured images that sent shock waves through the scientific community.
The mighty Mississippi, America's second largest river, is not mighty anymore. Drought conditions are bringing this vital transportation waterway to a halt. Over 120 vessels and more than 1,800 barges are backed up.
The Mississippi River near Memphis showed water depths of less than 3 feet. These levels haven't been recorded since monitoring began in 1872. What should take centuries of natural change occurred in just 18 months. But here's where this story takes a terrifying turn. This isn't happening because of drought. Rainfall in the upper Mississippi Basin measured 34.2 inches for 2023. That's exactly average for the past 50 years. The water is there, it's just vanishing.
The Mississippi is the main route for America's breadbasket to the world, responsible for $400 billion in industry and 1.3 million jobs.
Right now, barges carrying 60% of America's grain exports sit stranded on exposed sandbars. The river that moves $700 billion in goods annually has transformed into something unrecognizable. Shipping companies have stopped running. The Army Corps of Engineers has discovered why this is happening. But their findings violate the fundamental laws of physics. And what they've found is so disturbing that government agencies have started classifying their own data. This is the story of how America's most vital waterway is bleeding to death, and the shocking truth about what's really draining it dry.
Let's turn now to the effects of the ongoing drought in the South and Midwest. In Tennessee this morning, the water level of the Mississippi River is at an all-time low.
Water that defies physics. Dr. Amanda Winters had spent her entire career studying rivers. Nothing prepared her for what she discovered in September 2023. Her team at the USGS Water Science Center conducts monthly discharge measurements using acoustic Doppler current profilers. These are essentially underwater sonar systems that map water velocity across the entire river cross-section. The technology is precise. The math is simple. Water in equals water out minus evaporation and human use.
Sections of the Mississippi River are plunging to a level not seen in more than 30 years. Along with threatening drinking water, experts say the unprecedented drought could also impact the U.S. supply chain and the economy.
But the numbers made no sense. Water entering the lower Mississippi at Memphis measured 312,000 cubic feet per second. Standard calculations meant they should see approximately 340,000 cubic feet per second at Baton Rouge 7 days later. Instead, they measured 287,000 cubic feet per second. 53,000 cubic feet per second had simply vanished across 600 river miles. That's 34 million gallons per minute. The entire flow of the Colorado River gone without a trace. Dr. Winters assumed instrument error. She recalibrated sensors, ran duplicate measurements, sent samples to independent labs to verify readings. Every single test confirmed the same impossible reality.
The climate crisis is also top of mind for many voters. The Mississippi River is at historically low levels, which could impact the food supply and our wallets.
By December 2023, the loss rate had increased to 89,000 cubic feet per second. By March 2024, it reached 143,000 cubic feet per second. The Mississippi River was hemorrhaging volume at an accelerating rate that no tributary reduction, no upstream diversion, no increase in agricultural extraction could explain. Engineers monitoring the lower Mississippi Division recorded something that shouldn't be possible. Water entering the system at Cairo. Illinois simply wasn't arriving at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not delayed, not diverted, gone. Enough water to fill Lake Tahoe every 11 days was vanishing into thin air. According to the law of conservation of mass, water cannot just disappear. It has to go somewhere. But where? The answer would shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew about hydrology.
Mississippi riverbeds, now riverbanks as a result of this deepening drought. On a typical day, the water line for the Mississippi should be anywhere from 15 to 20 feet above my head. But today, this massive river is now running dangerously low.
The emergency that never made headlines. In April 2024, the Army Corps of Engineers convened an Emergency Technical Review Board. 37 senior hydraulic engineers, geologists, and climatologists reviewed 18 months of data from every monitoring station between St. Louis and New Orleans. Their preliminary report, marked internal review only, contained a single devastating conclusion. Observed losses exceed all documented natural variability and known anthropogenic withdrawals by a factor of 6.7. No existing hydrological framework explains the recorded deficit. Translation: we have no idea what's happening. That report was never released to the public. 3 weeks later, the Army Corps announced routine maintenance protocols at 11 monitoring stations and suspended publication of real-time discharge data, something that hadn't occurred since 1928.
Sigh of relief this morning for the Army Corps of Engineers as the Mississippi River's rise is easing. The Corps says the Bonnie Carey spillway will stay closed for now. That's because the Mississippi is cresting lower than expected.
Scientists who had spent careers studying the Mississippi began speaking in careful, measured phrases. Not the confident declarations of established hydrology, but the tentative words of researchers confronting data that refuses to make sense. If these numbers are real, Dr. Winters told a closed-door symposium at Tulane University, every textbook on North American hydrology needs revision. Teams scrambled for explanations. They examined agricultural extraction. The Mississippi River Basin supports $60 billion in annual agricultural production. But total documented withdrawal for 2023 was 8.2 billion gallons per day. Substantial, yes, but less than half the missing water. They studied evaporation rates using satellite thermal imaging. The data showed evapotranspiration rates were only 2.3% higher than the 30-year average. An increase that small should remove an additional 4,000 cubic feet per second, not 143,000. Every theory they tested came up short until they looked underground.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Colonel Brian Saucer and his crew welcome Severe Weather Center 13 aboard. As we track the drought, they are doing all they can to lessen its impacts.
The river is bleeding into the earth. Geologists deployed 127 seismometers in a grid pattern spanning both sides of the river from Memphis to Vicksburg. They generated acoustic profiles of the subsurface down to 2,000 feet. What they found changed everything. The seismic data showed dramatically increased porosity in the sediments directly beneath the river channel. Porosity measures how much empty space exists within sediment. Typical alluvial deposits beneath the Mississippi show 28 to 33% porosity. The 2024 survey recorded values of 41 to 47%. The sediments were becoming sponge-like. The riverbed itself was transforming into a giant drain.
All of us, at least in the weather and climate departments here, started raising our eyebrows because this is something we've only seen, in records that go back to the 1890s, really twice before. 1988 and 2012 are both memorable years for when the Mississippi was so low.
Dr. Michael Reeves, a sedimentologist at Mississippi State, described the finding with barely concealed alarm. We're observing a structural reorganization of the bed material. It's as if the river is excavating itself from within, But porosity alone doesn't make water disappear. Something had to be pulling water out of the aquifer as fast as the river could feed it. The Memphis Sand, Aquifer, and the Mississippi River Valley. Alluvial aquifer together provide drinking water for 8 million people. Both aquifers have experienced declining water tables since the 1960s. Water tables in 2024 average 23 feet lower than 1990 levels. That declining gradient creates suction. The river, encountering sediments with increased porosity, and an aquifer with reduced pressure, begins recharging the underground system at catastrophic rates. The Mississippi River wasn't drying up from lack of rainfall. It was hemorrhaging into its own aquifer. And this revelation exposed a terrifying truth about what we had unknowingly created.
After a year of brutal drought this winter, NOAA is predicting warmer temperatures in much of the country and below normal precipitation in the nation's southern half. That's bad news for the Mississippi River, whose levels are at historic lows.
10,000 small decisions, a century of engineering projects, the dams, the levees, the channel stabilization, agricultural development, every well drilled to support farms and cities. Together, they had collectively altered the fundamental relationship between surface water and groundwater. We didn't break the river through one bad decision. We rewrote its hydrology through 10,000 small ones. The Army Corps tried emergency interventions, increased upstream dam releases, produced temporary improvements near Memphis. But the water didn't reach New Orleans. The enhanced flow simply accelerated recharge through the high porosity riverbed sediments.
Even if you don't work or live on the river, you're touched by it. And it's the center point of our economy, responsible for a $10 billion impact on our city every year. And when it's dried up, there's only one way to fight it.
By February 2025, discharge at Tarboro Landing had declined to 214,000 cubic feet per second, the lowest measurement since records began. Engineers call what's happening storage deadlock. Water exists in the system, but occupies space where it cannot be utilized by either human infrastructure or natural discharge mechanisms. It's trapped, locked away in underground deposits that may not release it for centuries. Louisiana coastal communities faced an additional nightmare. Reduced Mississippi discharge meant less fresh water pushing against saltwater intrusion. The Gulf of Mexico was advancing inland. In January 2025, municipal water intakes for Belle Chasse and Braithwaite recorded saltwater contamination. Over 80,000 residents lost access to drinkable water overnight.
It will take a significant amount of precipitation to bring those water tables, those aquifers, and those systems back up to where we have typical river conditions.
The price we cannot pay. Are we solving the problem or just buying time? That question began appearing in Army Corps internal communications, and no one had an answer. Today, the Mississippi River continues its silent retreat. Monitoring stations track the decline with precision. But precision doesn't produce solutions. 10 million people depend on Mississippi River water. $200 billion in annual economic activity relies on navigable depths. 400 species require specific flow conditions for survival. The systems we built to harness the river have collectively rewritten the fundamental hydrology of the continent's largest watershed. We're learning that rivers don't respond to engineering on human timescales. They respond to geology, to climatology, to the accumulated weight of every intervention across decades. Somewhere beneath the riverbed, in the darkened pore spaces of sand deposited when glaciers last retreated, 200 billion gallons of water per day continue their silent descent, vanishing into an aquifer that may not release them for centuries. The Mississippi isn't drying because we failed to recognize the danger. It's drying because we succeeded in building systems that made the danger inevitable. And the question of who will pay the price has no answer. Only the sound of falling water levels and the growing silence where America's mightiest river used to flow.